Hey there, welcome back everybody. This is going to be a jam-packed video, so grab yourself a drink, cup of tea, coffee, depending on what time it is where you're watching. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to talk about my scent of the month, which is normally what this video is mainly about, my most worn, but I'm also going to talk about a few indie perfume houses that I've sampled for the first time in September, plus let you know about some new arrivals into my bottle wardrobe, and also we'll talk about briefly the ones that have left my wardrobe in the month of September. Okay, so I think what we'll do is start off by going through the bottles that have left my wardrobe in September, and here's a moment to pay our respects. All right, so next I want to talk about, very, very briefly, 3 indie perfume houses that I have sampled for the first time in the month of September, and I've been really, really impressed with what I've smelled so far. So there'll be more testing to come and reviews and a bit of a spotlight on each of these houses. 2 from the US. One is the relatively brand new Chronotope Perfumes. 3 initial releases on its initial launch. It's Buen Camino, Spite and Playa Linda are the 3 perfumes that are available. Again, I'll link to the website in the description, but if you're interested in discovering some new indie perfume, please check these out. The next one is also from the US, hailing from Seattle. It is the house of Filigree Shadow. This house has been around a little bit longer, and they've got a lot, they've already got quite a lot of perfumes in the lineup, and I've got samples of all of them. I've only scratched the surface of these, but so far what I've tried has been excellent. And the third one I want to mention is from Australia, actually. This house is called Criminal Elements. Now, it's taken me a long, long time to get around to trying these because they've been around for a while, much longer, longer than I've had this channel going for. But I have to say, based on what I have tried so far, this is definitely, without any question of a doubt, my favorite Australian perfume that I've tried, and I think I've tried most of them now. And what I've tried in these discovery sets has pretty much really, really, really impressed me. So please check out the websites and have a look and see what you can order or sample. But they're my 3 indie houses that I wanted to mention for the month of September. All right, I'm going to get started on my most worn for September. I got a few samples this month, and I wore them, I tested them for, with a review in mind going down the track. So the first one that I wore several times this month was from Roja Dove. This one is a Midsummer Dream. Now, I have to say, this perfume I first smelled as part of the last blind sampling video that I did, and I rated it, fairly highly. But with each subsequent wear, a Midsummer Dream, I kind of fell in love with the scent of this perfume. It was really just, what it boiled down to was this gorgeously creamy orange blossom and cardamom, like other spices, but it was just beautifully blended. And again, this has been a characteristic of all the Roja Dove perfumes that I've tried in the past. And A Midsummer Dream almost had me thinking that I was prepared to spend $550 for a bottle of this perfume. But every time I wore it, I was thinking, oh damn, I'm gonna get my wallet out and buy a bottle. But a couple of hours later, when I could no longer detect it on my skin, common sense kicked in and I thought, well, I don't really need it. So I'll do a review of this at some point. It smells wonderful, but then the perfume basically made the decision for me. Like I loved how it smelled, and I was nearly on the verge of buying a bottle, and then a couple of hours later, when it became no more than a very faint skin scent, I thought better of it. The other ones that I also wore a lot in September also came from samples. Now, these two I've been wanting to sample for a long time because this house, and in particular some of these perfumes in this house, have come very highly regarded. The first one I want to discuss is, and they're both from the house of MDCI, is that right? MDCI. Chypre Palatin, which was composed by Bertrand Duchefort, one of my favorite perfumers. So this one here, very highly regarded, gets great reviews, and the perfume itself is wonderful. I really enjoy it, even though I'm smelling what apparently is a reformulated version of this, so you'll have to just take my opinion based on this current version. But I really enjoyed it. And the other one I tried from the same house was Invasion Barbare. So both of these, that one there is, so one's obviously what to me seems like a floral Chypre style fragrance. Invasion Barbare is a fougere basically, as you could probably surmise from the name, barbershop. But I could have that completely wrong. Anyway, but it is a fougere fragrance. And I really liked both of them. And I think what it is about these two fragrances is that they do that style, their chosen genre just really well. And each of them kind of felt like they were an amalgam of a bunch of other fragrances in that style. Like definitely Chypre Palatin reminded me of a couple of different things in that style. Not the same, but they had elements of them. And it's like the same with Invasion Barbare. There was touches of Rive Gauche in that fragrance, other fougères. I even got reminded of things like Amouage Reflection Man at some points in the development of those fragrances. So what I'm trying to say is that they're both beautifully done, but they're definitely inspired by different things, but it's almost like the best things are put into both of those. So they're both wonderful fragrances, but because I have things that I pick up in both of those fragrances already, I didn't feel like, in this case, even though they were beautiful perfumes, in this case, I didn't have any urge or desire to own a bottle of either of them. So those two were also in my most worn. And the next two that I wore a lot in September were new acquisitions, which will segue into all the new bottles that I bought this month. All right, so the next couple of bottles that I wore in September quite often, and also are new acquisitions to my wardrobe. The first one is from Guerlain's Aqua Allegoria line. This one here is Pamplelune, and I discovered this through that blind sampling session that I did, which I did a video for, and I just fell in love with it. The weather is starting to warm up a little bit, and I'm wearing more of these fresher citrus scents. This is simply the best grapefruit based fragrance that I've smelled. So, and look, this type of fragrance I never expect to last on my skin. I find spraying this on clothes and in your hair actually makes it hang around a little bit longer, but it's just beautiful, uplifting scent. Now this one here was a blind buy, which I'd heard a lot about. This one here is from Parfum d'Empire. I got the Azemour Les Orangers. This is, I was intrigued by this fragrance because I'd read a lot of stuff about it, but I just could not imagine what it actually smelled like. And in this case, I haven't been disappointed. It's been another successful blind buy. This is essentially what I would describe as a very dry orange Chypre, but when I say dry, there is a lovely bitter orange opening here. It smells very naturalistic, but it quickly starts to develop into this very dry, woody, mossy base. There is almost, for me on my skin, there's almost this element of dry tobacco or even burnt tobacco about it. I don't know if that's the oak moss, so I get a bit of that ashtray kind of vibe from oak moss in general anyway. And it's definitely here as well. This is the height of summer, dry grass and earth in an orange orchard to me. So that's Azemour Les Orangers. All right, so just a couple of other acquisitions that I got as well as part of purchases that I made. These two were actually included as part of the extra samples that stores tend to give you when you make purchases. I got this little mini Floris Leather Oud. Now I've done a review of this one, and I've come to miss having my sample, and I had for a while thought about buying a bottle, and I'm glad I've got this now because this should last me for a little while longer. But this has kind of become pretty much my favorite straight up classic clean leather fragrance for mine, Floris Leather Oud. And then the other one I got as part of a purchase, the store was very kind enough to throw in a tester. So it's like it's been used, a tester of Caron L'Anarchiste, which I have been very curious to smell because I'm a fan of the other Caron masculines that come in a similar style bottle, Pour un Homme, Le Troisième Homme, and Yatagan. And I haven't smelled this, and this gets very mixed reviews, but I've been pleasantly surprised by this. Although this doesn't tend to last very long on my skin, I actually quite really like this kind of mint. I've been getting into mint a little bit, which I never used to like, but the mint note in this is actually quite nice, and actually on my skin has a very almost traditional barbershop vibe about it in the opening. It's actually quite fresh, traditionally kind of masculine fragrance. It does sweeten up a touch with spices in it, but there is nothing I find on my skin that's, sort of polarizing or strange, which some reviews have kind of mentioned about this one, but I find this actually very nice. All right, so I also made a few purchases this month of bottles where I've had decants or samples for a long time. I've fallen in love with these fragrances over time, but I just sort of put off buying bottles for a while. And then in this case, this one here is Helmut Les Eau de Parfum. Now, I've had a small travel size of this fragrance for nearly a couple of years now. And I got word that this line is being discontinued, and the distributor that sells these here in Australia pretty much confirmed they were, although I have not heard official word from Helmut Lang themselves. But once I started to look for a bottle of this, I realised that especially in Australia, they were starting to disappear, and as soon as I found one, I snapped it up because this is a beautiful perfume and it's currently a top 5 fragrance for me. And the other one I got, which I've been very excited about, this one here was a matter of having to wait for stock to become available again. This one is one I fell in love with early in the year. It is Tabac Blond from Caron. This is the new bottles that they come in. Caron's been taken over by different ownership, and I think they've repackaged a lot of their fragrances. Also, there is word that quite a few long-standing fragrances in their collection have been discontinued, but thankfully not this one. So as soon as this became available, I snapped one up. And the other one, a long-time love for me, but I've only ever had a decant of this fragrance, and I had the opportunity to get it with another purchase, and I thought, why not? Because I'm always going to love it. It's one of my 2 all-time favorite ambers. This one here is Ambre Russe from Parfum Don Pierre. So my second one from that house for this month, but you know, if you watch me for long enough, you know how much I love this one. Okay, so I'm gonna get to my last 3 purchases for this month. One of them is my scent of the month, but along with the Ambre Russe, I also made a very risky blind buy. It's this one here. This one is Muse Tonkin from Parfum Don Pierre. This one is the Extrait de Parfum. I have to say that I was a bit apprehensive about smelling this for the first time because people, I don't know, people must just get different things off their skin. Yes, it's very musky, but this is actually also really, I get quite indolic white florals. It smells a lot like jasmine to me, along with that musk, but this is definitely nothing to my mind that is I would consider risky. Like I've smelled stinkier things than this before. So if anyone watches this and is interested, is wondering how challenging this might be to wear, I don't find it challenging at all. If you like your musks and if you like a little bit white floral along with those, this is actually quite beautiful. I've got no, I'm happy, as you can tell, but I've got no apprehension or reservations about wearing this at all. Okay, my final 2 bottles. We're nearly at the end. Thanks for sticking around. Up until a week ago, this one here, I bought a bottle based on a sample of this. The first time I sprayed it on, I thought, wow, this is actually amazing. I'll get to the point. This was going to be scent of the month up until a week ago. This is from Floris. This is 1962. Now, here we have an example of a fragrance that I've read about online, and I've read descriptions. I look at the note pyramid, and I look at the note pyramid and think, like, there is nothing that jumps out at me that thinks, Pep, you're gonna love this fragrance. But people reviewed it really well, really positively. But I don't know if this happens to you as well. Sometimes I'll read about a fragrance, I'll go and look at the note pyramid and go, oh, it doesn't look like anything I might like. And the other interesting thing about this is the first time I smelled this, it reminded me, I immediately thought of a perfume that I really didn't like when I smelled it. So a couple of years ago, I was in an airport duty free, and they had Tom Ford Private Blend there. I sprayed a bit of Italian cypress on my skin, and like my initial reaction was, how can anyone like this? Okay, and I think it might have been a combination of the basil and the mint in that fragrance. I probably didn't really know much what cypress, was really familiar with what cypress was like, but something about that fragrance really just put me off. Now, the strange thing is, I smelled 1962 and I thought about, it made me think about that fragrance. But in this case, I absolutely loved everything I was smelling off my skin. It was almost like this was the way I wanted Italian cypress to be blended. Things were a little bit more toned down. I get more cypress and that green, high-pitched woods, like being outdoors with a cold breeze in your face. I still get the basil and mint, but it's just like toned down and it's blended better for me. And this just lasts all day as well and develops. So it's just such an interesting scent. But I wouldn't have, another one where I wouldn't have tried if I didn't just happen to have the sample lying around. This is not something I would have sought out to test, but I'm just loving this fragrance. Okay, so as I said, that 1962 would have been the scent of the month. Up until a week ago, I was having an Instagram conversation about favorite orange blossom neroli fragrances, and this is L'Artisan Parfumeur, Seville à l'Aube. Have I got that the right way? There we go. Okay, so I have worn this before. Last year, on my trip to Italy, I bought a little sample that was given to me by a friend. I had basically never tried it, but I decided to take it with me. First day in Rome, I decided to spray it on, and I was so pleasantly surprised. I just didn't know what to expect with this fragrance, but I was so pleasantly surprised. I finished the sample while I was there, but it kind of became the scent of my stay in Rome. And then I got back to Australia, and I, sort of was like, I did think about it, but never thought seriously about buying a bottle of it up until a few, people reminded me of this fragrance when we were having the Instagram conversation, and I had a look and online to see what was available. I found this one, and boy, oh boy, I have zero regrets about getting this bottle because it is just beautiful. Orange blossom, beeswax. There is a weight and a depth about this fragrance that you don't find normally in fragrances that are dominated by that note that's normally associated with lighter, fresher fragrances. But this one here is just wonderful, and the longevity on this is a new version. The longevity on this is crazy. If it gets on your clothes, you'll smell it next day, but I can smell it all day when I spray this on. And I'm so looking forward to the weather getting warmer, more humid, and spraying this on. That's my scent of the month, Seville à l'Aube from L'Artisan Parfumeur. That is all. This is a long video, I'm sorry, but I needed to get through quite a lot. So thank you for sticking around, and thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.